After the miscarriage, I systematically erased every habit that Giles used to find irritating. I stopped asking where he was going. When he stayed out all night, I no longer paced the floor. I simply turned off the bedside lamp and fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. Even when I was injured during a training maneuver and the medic told me to call my family, I just looked at the sterile white ceiling and said, "I don't have any next of kin." The nurse recognized me. "You're Mrs. Marshall, aren't you? General Marshall is just in the next sector over. Should I send word to him?" I shook my head slowly. "No, there's no need." But 30 minutes later, Giles Marshall appeared anyway. He stood in the doorway, his uniform sharp, his presence commanding and cold. "You're hurt. Why wasn't I the first person you called?" I kept my eyes down. "It's a scratch, Giles. Not worth bothering the commanding general over." That dismissive tone, the sheer lack of weight in my voice, made him visibly bristle. Before he could snap back, voices drifted in from the hallway. 2 guards were gossiping, unaware of who was listening. "The general really has a soft spot for that girl Maya from the USO troop. She twisted her ankle during the performance, and he practically commandeered a Blackhawk just to get her back, carried her onto the bird himself, didn't let her feet touch the tarmac once." I saw Giles's chest tighten. His eyes flickered toward me, searching for the explosion, the accusations, the familiar fire of my jealousy. But my lashes didn't even quiver. I just leaned back against the thin hospital mattress and closed my eyes, letting the silence settle between us. It wasn't until we were in his military jeep that he finally spoke, his voice a low growl of defense. "Don't listen to the gossip. It was professional. Maya was invited here to perform for the troops. She got hurt on my watch. It was my responsibility to handle it." "Okay," I said softly. I didn't add anything else. Giles's temper flared suddenly. "You don't believe me? Is this still about that? God, Cassie, I've come back to you. I'm here. What more do you want?" I stared out the window at the passing barracks, my profile a blank slate. "I believe you," I said. "I just didn't think I was an emergency. I didn't want to interrupt your work. Let's just go back to the quarters." The same scripted response. Autopilot. Giles slammed his fist against the steering wheel. The horn blared, a sharp, ugly sound that cut through the winter air, startling a group of performers who were just finishing their set across the road. One girl looked up. As the moonlight hit her face, the air inside the Jeep turned to ice. "Maya, what is she still doing out here?" Giles muttered. He glanced at me instinctively. In the past, every time I saw her, I'd lose my mind. I'd scream, I'd cry, I'd demand to know why she was wearing a coat that looked like mine. But now, I just gave her a fleeting glance and looked away. Nothing. Giles gripped the wheel, but his eyes were glued to the rearview mirror. It was a brutal December night. The girl was shivering in a thin stage costume, her arms wrapped tight around herself, her nose red from the cold. His hand was already on the door handle. The concern was practically leaking out of him. I understood the script perfectly. I opened my door and stepped out, giving him the exit he was dying for. "If you need to do a final sweep of the camp, I can walk back. It's not far." I didn't wait for an answer. I turned toward the intersection. Giles jumped out and caught my wrist. "It's over between us, Cassie. I didn't know she was here. Why won't you trust me?" I nodded. "I do trust you, Giles. She's a young girl in a tough spot. Even if it's over, it's normal to care." "I get it." He stared at my face. There was no bitterness there, no hidden edge. That was what terrified him. I used to have an insatiable hunger for his attention. If I found a single long hair on his uniform, I'd interrogate him until dawn. Now, I was exactly what he'd always begged me to be. Reasonable, quiet, undemanding. But it felt like he was breathing through wet cotton. I pulled my hand back and walked away. At the corner, I stopped and looked back. Beside the Jeep, Giles had already draped his heavy coat over Maya's shoulders. He was cupping her face in his hands, leaning down to kiss her with a desperation that looked like pain. I wasn't surprised. I should have seen it coming. I certainly wasn't going to be the woman I was the first time I caught him. The crazy wife screaming, "Giles, have you no shame? I've been with you since I was 18. We had nothing and now you tell me you love someone else?" Back then, he had looked at the blood on his lip where I'd struck him and sneered, "Shame? You want to talk about shame? You were sleeping with me at 18. Your own parents didn't even want you. I'm the one who took you out of that state home. I've raised you for a decade. You should be thanking me." That sentence had been a poison blade, shredding 12 years of shared struggles, of shivering together in foxholes and building a life from dust. My phone vibrated, pulling me out of the graveyard of my memories. "Colonel Miller, the personal effects and pension documents for your biological parents have been verified. When can you come to the West Coast Command to finalize the claim?" I pulled my sleeve down to cover the faint white scar on my wrist. 10 days. My divorce papers finish processing in 10 days. The voice on the line hesitated. "You and General Marshall, it's been a long time. You can inherit the estate and the honors without transferring units." I watched the lights of the base fade in the distance. "I don't love him anymore," I said. "I just want to go home to a place I've never been." Back at the officers' quarters, the first thing I saw was our wedding photo on the wall. We looked so young. Giles was laughing, his nose pressed affectionately against my temple. We grew up together in the state foster system. When I was 18, the director tried to marry me off to a bitter, middle-aged sergeant just to get me off the books. Giles was the one who grabbed my hand and helped me scale the back wall. The director had screamed after us, "Giles Marshall, you think you can protect her forever?" He had looked back, his eyes blazing with a reckless, beautiful light. "Watch me." He used his enlistment bonus to rent the cheapest basement apartment in the city. "Once I'm through basic training and get my stripes, you can come with me as a registered dependent," he promised. "No one will ever take you away again." For the first 3 years, he crawled through the mud in Ranger Ranger school. Before every jump, every dangerous op, he'd tuck my photo into his breast pocket right over his heart. I worked a desk job in logistics, saving every penny. During the leanest winters, we'd share a single bowl of instant noodles on New Year's Eve and feel like royalty. Then he made special forces. I moved into intelligence. We traded the basement for a dorm, the dorm for a house, and finally for this villa. The stars on Giles's shoulders got brighter, and the colleagues around him started looking different, until the day I found a smudge of lipstick on the inside of his collar. A girl tripped backstage at the gala. I helped her up. It was an accident, he'd snapped, ripping his tie off. Cassie, you're a soldier too. Stop acting like a paranoid housewife. Do soldiers not betray people, Giles? We said forever. Not forever until it gets boring. The screaming matches became our new language. I tracked his missions, his call logs, even snuck to the edge of the training grounds when he claimed he was pulling an all-nighter. Giles, out of spite, leaned into it. He cycled through women, sometimes coming home with scratches on his back just to see me break. Satisfied? He'd sneer. You wanted to find something. Now you have. I felt like a ghost, knowing I should leave, but unable to find the door. 12 years meant we were grafted together. Tearing apart meant losing skin. But a year ago, he changed. He cleared out the flings, he kept only one. When I saw Maya's photo, I collapsed. That face. She looked exactly like I did at 18. Innocent, wide-eyed, untouched by the world. Giles would rather love a ghost of me than the woman I had become to survive him. That night, I sat in a bathtub and opened my veins. Giles broke the door down, his hands shaking so hard he could barely apply the tourniquets. He carried me into the ER, his eyes bloodshot and terrifying. Cassie, are you insane? We'll fix it, I promise, just you and me. No one else, ever again. I lay in that hospital bed feeling nothing but a profound, hollow exhaustion. That was the day the JAG officer found me. He handed me a yellowed file. Colonel Miller, the department reinvestigated the casualty lists from the '94 border conflict. These two officers, they were your biological parents. I held the file, my fingers icy. After I hung up, I walked to the window of my private room. In the garden below, Giles was holding Maya. I'm sorry, Maya. She's unstable. Post-traumatic stress. I can't leave her like this. Not now. But trust me, once she's settled, I'll make it right for us. They kissed like star-crossed lovers. In that moment, the graft finally failed. The skin tore away. The hole in my chest was so large I couldn't even make a sound. On my 7th day in the hospital, I realized the truth. I had to kill the woman who loved Giles Marshall to let the daughter of heroes live.